What's up, guys? Got a fun one for you today. Had a good workout with the mountain kid today, Alan. He's just coming off his first ever competition, so we have a couple things that we need to refine, like his bailing technique. No, Alan did pretty well in his first competition. Hit, I think, a 201 kilo total. That was 6 months after starting weightlifting, so pretty happy with that. But there are a couple things that we need to fine tune. He is getting a little far behind the bar on his snatches, and that's causing a little bit of errors. So we're just working from the blocks today. Pull, snatch for him. Pull, power snatch for me, since I am still unable to perform a full snatch without pain. As you can see, Alan is extremely explosive, and what I was doing throughout the entire session was just going through some coaching as we were working out. Obviously, Alan is one of my clients, so basically going through and coaching as we actually go through the movements and making real-time adjustments. Most of the time, I do not like cueing during a set. I will actually cue after a set. I won't make corrections on the movements during it. I feel like it gets in the athlete's head a little bit too much. So basically, as Alan's resting, as I'm working, I will be providing him the cues and the positional references that we're looking for. He has a little bit of stability issues in the bottom, occasional press outs in the left elbow, but again, only been lifting for 6 months, so this is really fine tuning the movements now. He's able to lift relatively heavily, and we just need to start fine tuning so that competition lifts happen at heavier amounts relative to his max. I think Alan hit a 195 snatch and a 245 or 255 clean and jerk in competition this past week. Obviously, relative to his max, those numbers are a little light, but at the same time did qualify us for youth nationals, so happy with that for the 89 kilo category, and that's why we're now working on refining the techniques so that he's able to hit the bigger numbers. So we did copious amounts of work, building up slowly, building up all of the technique work, and just hammering at the lifts. We actually ended up putting so many sets into Alan's hands that his hands started giving out, and we had to use wraps a little later on, even though the weight wasn't actually that heavy, and I don't think he's ever used wraps before. This is pretty typical for me. I will actually run through this amount of warm-up sets, this amount of work before I get onto my primary sets. For Alan, he's typically only hitting somewhere between 5 and 8 build sets before he hits his top sets. This is obviously a little more than he's used to. So anyway, he was stomping some lifts. He was being really aggressive and snappy with the lifts. I was really happy with how he was moving for the most part today. Again, every time he goes for the snatch, there is a little bit of mindfulness and thoughtfulness that goes into the movement. That's something that we're actually going to slowly phase out, because I don't want him sitting there thinking about this final lift. Instead, I want it just to become automatic. You'll notice that's a difference between Alan's lifts and my lifts. Currently, pull, hesitation, then lift. That hesitation is just a little bit of thinking, and that thinking is something that we just want to eliminate. Whereas my lifts pull, hit, there's no real thought behind it. It just all comes with the territory. So we bumped up to 185, and this was Alan's second miss. The jump was just a little bit too much, and it kind of got in his head again. Again, if you notice, he pulled the elbows really fast and didn't really use the legs. So we backed it down to 65, just so he could groove it again. Once he grooved it, we shifted that weight back up. Had a couple sets here at 65, just making sure that he got comfortable with it again. Because again, the session was primarily about movement quality. It was not about lifting heavy, even though we did end up getting pretty heavy today. So this was when we noticed that Alan needed straps. Obviously, this lift quality was significantly better than the previous one, and it came to just being about grip reassurance. He wasn't confident in his grip, and because of that, he wasn't feeling like he could use his legs explosively. This is a problem we run into all the time with lifters. If your hands start to fatigue, you need to put on wraps, because your confidence in your grip determines how explosive you can be with your legs. if your brain is telling you that if you explode with the legs, the bar will rip out of the hand, you will not explode as hard with the legs, and the bar won't elevate as high. Anyway, so Alan came back and stomped the 185. Moved pretty good for him. I switched from pull, pull, pow to pow, pow. On that rep, I actually forgot what I was meant to be doing, so I went to pull it, and then halfway through the pull realized that I was meant to be power snatching it, so I just turned it over, and yeah. Honestly, I don't really work out with people too often, so I was getting a little distracted throughout the session. By I don't work out with people too often, I mean I never work out with people. Anyway, up to 195 now on the bar, and again, Alan is still moving the bar pretty well. For me, it's grooving pretty well. Unfortunately, I still just can't hit that full snatch. Oh yeah, then he had that little miss there. Yeah, I can't hit a full snatch still. There's just pain as I descend. It's pretty frustrating. I would really like to be able to hit a full snatch, and I would really like to be able to trust my elbow. Just right now, I am having some trust issues with it. Don't really know what else to say about trust issues in my elbow. As long as it's pinging a lot of pain, I probably won't be going through that range of motion. So anyway, we're up to 205, which is relatively heavy. Alan's max ever is 225. So 205 was not actually something that we had planned for the day, but because he stomped that lift, we just decided to hit another set at it and then continue up, because he was moving well even though he was seeming to get a little fatigued. So Alan is going back onto my Bulgarian-Soviet hybrid program. That Bulgarian-Soviet hybrid has a lot of volume, and it has a lot of very high-intensity work. Of course, it is a modified hybrid program, so it is not full Bulgarian, it is not full Soviet. It is very closely monitored in terms of volume, and very closely monitored in terms of amount of reps at high percentages. It's only so hard that natural athletes are able to train, and the true Bulgarian or the true Soviet just doesn't allow that for people. So yeah, I lost tension on that 225. That felt pretty bad. Elbow didn't really like that one. And this is something that's really cool about working with Alan. Alan can get in his head and then get out of his head relatively quickly. So what I did was I just told him, walk away from the bar and come back when you're ready to hit the lift. So he walked away, got his head right, and came back. And although the lift wasn't the cleanest lift, he still ripped it, he still sent it, he still got under it, and put effort into it instead of just being like, I can't do it. And that mental attitude is something that's so cool to see from a young athlete. I mean, Alan's only 16, so for him to be able to make that mental shift is really, really cool to see and is really promising for the future. So anyway, we went back for a second attempt at the 225, and it didn't work, so I had him walk away, and he just lost it on that one. So that's what we called it on the snatch work, and we went on to his jerk work. So Alan really hasn't split jerked before, so I wanted him on the blocks so that we could just get a lot of jerk work done without having to re-rack, without having to do anything like that. One of the things that you're going to notice on these jerks is going to be that back leg. So this whole time I'm giving coaching cues, the whole time we're making adjustments, especially at these light weights. But that back leg is kickstanded out straight instead of the knee dropping down. And if you notice what's happening because of it, and this is what Alan just agreed with in that video, was that the back leg kickstanding was sending the hips further forward. All right, so you'll notice there's a bit of hip travel once he receives the bar, and that's because that back leg is straight and pushing the hips forwards. So it was something that was very inconsistent in the lifts today. Again, this is about the first time that Alan has ever split jerked. We've been power jerking before now. So it's going to be something that he has to get used to, and something that we're going to have to continue just hammering on as the weeks go by here. He does have a beautiful deep position. He does have a really good awareness of where the bar is above his head as well, and the depth that he has to reach. It's just that hip movement and that knee movement once receiving the bar, because that back leg is kickstanding, that is the current issue. In addition, there's a little bit of a lockout issue on that left elbow still, which we are always trying to refine. So anyway, I had him doing doubles and triples. As you can see, that back leg kickstanding is just a constant issue that we're having to work on. We will continue refining this over the next 6 Saturdays, as I'll be working with him, or working out with him, and working with him every single Saturday for the next couple weeks, because he's going to be making the trip down to work with me, so that we can really fine-tune this before we go into some more competitions. So again, basically, the next phase of Alan's program is going into max effort 3 days a week, speed effort 2 days a week. And while Alan was doing that, I was getting my squat sets in. I did 8 build sets to build some volume in, and then I had 3 sets of doubles at 385. As you can tell, that was not a double, because I felt like absolute shit. So I decided not to hit that double because, well, I couldn't. My legs were not going to do it. So I decided to man up and hit it on my next set, gave myself a little rest, and then started my sets of doubles. I'm really liking the Romaleo 2s. They have a really nice heel cup in them. That's probably a completely different video. So we put Alan up to 225, and although it was moving okay, what I started noticing was that his legs were a little fatigued, and that pause on the dip was ending up being a double. It was like a dip, pause, dip, go, which I didn't want because his legs were feeling so tired. So we eliminated, or we took the weight off and instead dropped it back down to 205, which was a little more manageable for him. He wasn't having to do that double dip because his legs weren't exhausted. Well, they were exhausted, just not exhausted for 205. So then we went into the final thing of the day, just some very heavy clean pulls. I was doing deficit clean pulls. Alan was just doing regular clean pulls. The biggest thing here was I was wanting him to be very, very quick and explosive with the traps at the very top, which is something that a lot of people lack, is the speed of those traps. They're used to shrugging, but not really shrugging very explosively, which gives you a delayed pull under because the traps still have to continue that shrug before you're capable of getting underneath the bar. So we had a couple sets of clean pulls. At this point, I think Alan's legs were a little tired, just a little, but dude is ridiculously strong. So we were just doing these at 405. I actually did these at 415 last week, but my legs today were not having it. I don't know why, but they just weren't having it. So I was perfectly fine with reducing the weight so I could still do the work. Sometimes you just got to auto-regulate like that, and that's fine. And then as soon as we were done with our clean pulls here, we went into stiff leg AMRAPs off the deficit, and that is the final thing that I have filmed for today. Now, I'm going to tell you guys, if you're watching this and you've watched it this far, do not do this workout. Like, I can't tell you just enough. My volume tolerance and Alan's volume tolerance for our hips and back is very, very high. It is something specifically that I have been training for a very long time, and Alan has a very naturally good base of. Since before I even started training him as a 15-year-old, he pulled more than 500 pounds on deadlift. So our tolerance in our hips and back is very high. If you do all of this work in a single day, you might feel like death the next day. I would not recommend it. All that to say, yeah, just don't do this workout. It's not a workout that I'm putting onto YouTube for you guys to be like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. But anyway, after stiff legs, I continued to do a little bit of accessories. I did some leg extension accessories, some bicep accessories, some shoulder accessories, and then decided to call it because I was getting a little tired. Again, I will be working out with Alan every single Saturday, hopefully for the next 6 weeks as we go through a little bit of a phase of block work. So expect to see more like this over the next couple weeks as we go through all of this very hard work. You'll get to see this kid really, really blow up and get stupid strong.